Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from the wedding drama subreddit from TA No Place 5878 and says, brother-in-law's fiance claims my family never RSVP'd, but I'm the only one without a seat. This is a throwaway because I'm not quite ready for all of my husband's family to get involved, I think. I'm still reeling and trying to process this, so bear with me. My brother-in-law is getting married soon. My husband is the best man and our 4-year-old is the ring bearer. I'm a part-time party planner, so I've been helping plan a small luncheon for the bridal party, immediate family, and a few vendors on the wedding day. So I'm not exactly a fringe guest here. The RSVP deadline was a few weeks ago. I filled out the online form and submitted it the same day the invitation came in the mail, with my husband sitting right next to me. We RSVP'd for the 3 of us, me, my husband, and our son. Easy peasy, right? Well, brother-in-law's fiance, sister-in-law, reached out today with a text saying we never RSVP'd. Not, hey, I never saw your RSVP, just checking, but straight up, you didn't respond. Which is frustrating on its own. But then she tells us that while my husband and son have seats at the reception, as they were in part of her original head counts, I do not. My husband was told I could come early with him to set up the luncheon still and stay for the ceremony, but that I would not have a spot at the reception. Let me repeat that. I'm married to the best man, mother of the ring bearer, and helping with wedding day logistics, including connecting sister-in-law with some of my professional contacts, and she somehow decided I just wouldn't be coming, and she never followed up before the RSVP deadline. Just what? I'm torn between feeling hurt, furious, and just flabbergasted, and used. I definitely feel used. At best, this was more a sloppy mistake that she's not owning. At worst, it feels like a pointed exclusion. I'm not sure which stings more. My husband is going to handle the conversation with his brother to figure out what is going on because I genuinely don't trust myself to be polite and keep the peace. There was no other drama leading up to this that I was aware of. I have a good relationship with my in-laws. So yeah, this is totally out of left field for me and my husband. I'd love to hear thoughts, especially from people who've gone through something similar. I don't typically touch weddings with work, so this is all new territory for me as a pseudo-vendor guest. My husband wants to reach out and talk to his brother first, but I'm so tempted to reach out to my mother-in-law before our usual meetup tomorrow to see if she knows anything. Nah, there's something sketchy happening behind the scenes in this situation. Now, I would definitely go with the call of letting your husband handle it first to find out what's going on, because obviously you deserve way better than being treated like free labor and getting kicked out when it's time to actually celebrate with your husband and your child is still in it. Your husband is still a part of it. It's absolutely wild. But a commenter says to OP, you're smart to wait and let Hubs talk to his brother. I'm flabbergasted also. That's freaking nuts. And this is coming from someone who is totally laid back and not someone who usually takes things personally. Just try to take your mind off it and see what Hubs reports. Go from there. OP says, I'm usually pretty laid back too. I haven't seen the text yet, but Hubs called on his lunch break when he saw them. I have not heard him this pissed in a long time. I'm trying to give sister-in-law the benefit of the doubt, but this feels very personal and intentional. Commenter says, cancel the luncheon. If you're not welcome at the wedding, there is no need for you to be free labor. Opie says, I think I'm going to do this no matter what the outcome is. It puts mother-in-law and father-in-law in a bit of a lurch since they're handling the food costs, but I don't know. I know I'm biased because I'm in the middle of it, but I feel like there should be some consequences. Then OP comes in with a mini update and says, small update. Husband and brother-in-law are talking now. Brother-in-law was not working today, last night, and was helping father-in-law with something this evening. And I called mother-in-law. She had brother-in-law call husband right away. From what mother-in-law and I can hear, we're Snoopy, my husband was muted on brother-in-law's phone, and my contact was deleted. Brother-in-law can't log into the wedding website, so he can't check to see if our RSVP was there. I'm not sure if I want to become a firecracker myself or get some popcorn as I watch mother-in-law pop off. Another update comes in and says, okay, so here's the last update for the night. I'm tired and a bit overwhelmed by all your responses. I'm sorry I haven't replied to them all, but I have read most of them. Again, thank you for your advice and just general support during this really weird and upsetting time. So my husband finally got a hold of brother-in-law after I called mother-in-law. No one else knew this was going on. While they were talking, brother-in-law tried logging into their wedding website to see if there was a mistake or misunderstanding, but couldn't log in. So he texted sister-in-law to see if she changed the password, and she just told him to come home instead. This set off 3. 1. Brother-in-law ended the call with husband to call sister-in-law about why she couldn't answer a simple question. 2. Mother-in-law popped off about how dare that woman exclude OP. 3. Mother-in-law and father-in-law popped off on brother-in-law for already living with sister-in-law. They are very religious and traditional and don't believe that a couple should live together before marriage. Husband and I sympathize with brother-in-law. Brother-in-law and sister-in-law argued over the phone. Apparently she started claiming that it was an unfortunate glitch and it was too late to add another seat now. Then it was that we never jived, and would it really be so bad if I went home early? Plus, I could take our son home with me because he'd be tired by then. At 5 PM, this woman does not know kids. Then it was, I've always been mean and excluding her from things, even though she's never invited me to any of the girly fun wedding events. At this point, my husband and I are glued to my phone as we're hearing yelling from all 4 of them until sister-in-law hangs up. Brother-in-law is spending the night at his parents and is unsure about the wedding now. He plans on going home tomorrow with husband going with for moral support. I'll be going with hubby to my in-laws to hang out until we hear back about the situation at the battlefront. Then OP adds, I initially wasn't invited to the bridal shower. Then her mum brought it up at Easter dinner, and that's when I was awkwardly invited. I guess her vibe always felt off to me. She doesn't like my hobbies, specifically tabletop RPGs and video games. Their hobbies have in common with mother-in-law, and sister-in-law stopped bashing them as much when she found out mother-in-law also partakes in quests across Tamriel and the Forgotten Realm. 2 hours later, OP adds another mini update and says, sorry, one more teeny 1 AM update. Husband is asleep. I should be too, but still reeling and pissed. I thought to take a screen cap of the message she sent hubby for future proof, and it's gone. She used Facebook Messenger to text my husband, and it says her texts are deleted. Dare I say, ROG! So OP comes in with an update and says, updates, brother-in-law's fiance claimed my family never RSVP'd, but I'm the only one without a seat. Or OP can't sleep after word vomiting in her journal, so why not post the update? So, hi. To preface, I did not expect my post to blow up the way it did. Several commenters mentioned it just popped up in their recommended, and holy geez, it got way bigger than I could ever imagine, so thank you, I think? It's super overwhelming on top of the real life soap opera I'm living through this weekend. Just to clarify something from the original post, I did not plan everything for the wedding. I offered to bring food for a small luncheon between photos, 10 AM and the ceremony, 4 PM, as dinner wasn't planned until 6 PM. It was going to be a long day at a farm in the middle of nowhere. I offered to do it to be nice, but also to make sure no one, specifically a certain 4-year-old, would be hangry for the ceremony. Sister-in-law also used one of my vendor contacts, so with things going south, my professional reputation shouldn't really be impacted. Update: turns out the no seat for OP issue was the problem that broke brother-in-law's relationship, and we're a bit upset brother-in-law didn't talk to anyone about this until it blew up. Behind the scenes, brother-in-law and sister-in-law were having arguments about their future together. Most of these arguments centered around having kids. Early on, sister-in-law gave the impression that she wanted children someday, but as they got more serious, she started backtracking. A few months ago, brother-in-law realized that it's very likely sister-in-law never wanted kids, but felt too invested in the relationship to leave. But brother-in-law always imagined having a large family, so this really shook him. On top of that, sister-in-law had jealousy and insecurity issues. Her brother-in-law, I being her latest target, which started when I turned down going to a mani/pedi with her. Why did I turn her down? Husband and son had rotavirus. Apparently, I was icing her out by not wanting to spread gastrointestinal doom. Can anyone please explain this logic to us? Lastly, sister-in-law was apparently already floating the idea of disinviting our son from the reception because he would have been the only small child there. Brother-in-law shut that down immediately. The mother-in-law and father-in-law kept that knowledge from us to spare our feelings. Ergo, our lost RSVP was not a software glitch, nor was it an oversight, but a rather stupidly calculated move. Sister-in-law was apparently hoping one of two things would happen. Either I would make a scene about being disinvited and be seen as the problem, or we would quietly accept our fate and she would not have to deal with two undesirables at a reception. With all of this in mind, I can't figure out why she would have messaged my husband instead of me. Was she trying to cause more family drama? Again, the logic is not logicking. Brother-in-law was already feeling some uncertainty because of the shifting kids/no kids conversation, but the deliberate seating stunt gave him the last push and clarity he needed. Brother-in-law told my husband it was a level of manipulation and cruelty that he could not overlook. So he ended things and asked for the ring back. No wedding, no reception, just a super messy, emotionally heavy, and expensive breakup. I feel so bad for brother-in-law. He's going through so much heartache right now, but he deserves better in a partner. Hopefully sister-in-law can find a family dynamic that doesn't feel like a never-ending battlefield. That's all for now. I'm still tired. I'm still flabbergasted, but I'm also relieved this wedding arc is coming to an end. One of the top commenters on this one just said, "Your non-sister-in-law is an idiot." Opie says, "You'll hear no arguments from us." Commenter says, "Oh, poor brother-in-law. Expensive heartache, but glad he is out before an expensive divorce. He will find somebody for him. Take some rest, y'all." Opie says, "I know he will find someone that will be perfect for him. I'm still annoyed with him though. He was more lamenting being old and alone at dinner. And I was like, honey, you're the baby of the family. Have some more fries and shut up." Commenter says a couple of things. One, the trash taking itself out. My heart goes out to your brother-in-law, but I reckon with the full support of your incredible family, future him is going to look back on all of this and be so proud of how he handled it, as well as every member of your family. That's a huge acknowledgement of how solid you all are. 2, have your brother-in-law get ahead of all the cancelling. Help him reach out to guests on both sides and offer to bake him cookies or something and deliver them to local guests, maybe as a gesture of good faith. Everyone will remember that kindness. 3, we're also proud of you. Many of us would have gone scorched earth, but cooler heads prevailed. Take a break, babes. You'll deserve it. Opie says, your number 2 point is a great idea, thank you. Mother-in-law bakes when she's trying to not be upset, so the household is overflowing with baked treats right now. I'll ask brother-in-law if this is something he wants to do tomorrow and go from there. Someone asks, how long were they together? Opie says under 2 years. The wedding day was their dating anniversary. Commenter says her poorly executed treachery turns out to be a blessing in disguise for brother-in-law. Had she not hatched this ill-fated plot and sabotaged the phone, etc., he would have married to this monster. The cover-up, ironically, was the evidence of truth. On another note, this is really unusual and why the post got so much attention. We see mostly obnoxious conduct, but this scenario is unique. She really outdid almost every shitty bridezilla. How did the conversation with your husband and him go? There was obviously some admissions. Did you get a sense of the tone of talk? Opie says, I was wondering why my little vent and need for advice is trending. Because sister-in-law's poorly done power trip. I don't think this was an unusual situation. I don't know all of the details of the convo my husband had with brother-in-law. From my understanding, on the drive to the apartment, my husband asked, "Hey, what's your game plan? Because this is full on crazy and not okay." And brother-in-law opened up to him about everything that was going on. Then about how the sister-in-law reacted. Per brother-in-law, there was a lot of begging and crying. There was also anger and accusations that he was cheating with me. Ew. Followed by professions of love and offers to go to therapy. She also kept taking the items he was packing up out of his bags until he called my husband to come in and be another set of eyes. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from our very own subreddit from r/Mark Narrations. If you want to share your own stories, please feel free to get involved. But this story is from Autistic Ammonite and says, am I the asshole for not letting my mum talk to my kids on their birthday after she cut contact with me? following my disclosure of sexual abuse by my father. Before we get into this, trigger warnings of grooming, rape, sex trafficking. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. But let's get started. And just a quick message to the OP as well. I saw your very first paragraph you written there and much love to you. Really do appreciate it. And now we're going to start with your story. It says, I, 44 female, am Dutch, but live in the UK. The rest of my family is in the Netherlands. A few weeks ago, I disclosed to my family that I was groomed, raped, and sex trafficked by my father and grandfather from childhood until I was 24. These memories came back recently in a tidal wave. Somatic, emotional, overwhelming, triggered by therapy, trauma work, and ADHD medication. It took me decades to break through disassociation. I now know I survived a long-term incest and intergenerational abuse. Before the full truth surfaced, I'd already been posting short-form anonymous videos about neurodivergence and trauma. I'm late diagnosed autistic and ADHD. As my recovery intensified, my content became more personal, about what I survived. Family members followed my account and didn't comment, didn't check in. I felt invisible again, like the too intense one they always tiptoed around. In desperation, I sent a few videos spelling out clearly what my father and grandfather did, directly to my mother, brothers, aunts, and uncles. The family didn't deny it. They knew the men involved were abusive, had always been sexually inappropriate, violent, and controlling. Most relatives expressed support, but it was clear my truth made them uncomfortable. No one sat with me in the aftermath. No one really asked, "What do you need?" Some said they were angry these men got away with it. My grandfather is dead and my father vanished abroad over a decade ago. They want me to go to the police, but none of them are beside me for the fallout. The person I most hoped would be present was my mother, 62 female. I told her before I told the others. At first, she reacted with shock and support, but that quickly changed. She said the details were too much for her. She became nostalgic, then defensive. When I expressed pain at not being protected, she snapped that she and my brothers never raped me, as if that absolved her. She refused therapy. She refuses to reflect. She insists she did her best. She claims she's the one being attacked by me. She's never asked how I survived. She only asks why I'm making things so loud. I told her I can't keep carrying her feelings. I begged her to do some inner work for the sake of our relationship and for my kids. She refused. She was outraged I dared question her love. She said I was exhausting her and that she needed space. I respected that, and I backed off. But a few days later, she texted asking to FaceTime with my children on their birthday. I said no. Now I'm being painted as the villain, for not letting her speak to her grandchildren, for drawing a line, for being cruel. But I'm not trying to punish her. I just can't keep pretending she's safe for me or for my children, when she won't even face what happened. Our entire relationship, I was the one doing all the emotional labor, and I don't have the capacity for that anymore. I don't want revenge. I want healing. But I won't offer up my children as props in the broken dynamic I'm trying to escape. So, am I the arsehole for not letting my mum talk to my kids on their birthday after she cut contact with me, following my disclosure of sexual abuse by my father? Oh, bloody hell, mate. That is... Firstly, I just want to say how incredibly brave it is that you're even sharing this story. To break through what you said, decades of disassociation, to face these memories and then, be advocating for yourself and your children. That's huge. That's strong. But absolutely not having this boundary in place. It's not cruel at all. It's something that needs to be done. You're protecting your children from something that harmed you, the dynamic that harmed you. And I'm sure your mum has her own story, but she had the opportunity to step up, to do the work, to be that safe person for you and your kids. But she chose otherwise. She chose to be defensive about it. That's her choice. And now these are her consequences. And in many stories that we've covered, we talked about like generational cycles, abuse or whatever. and breaking those. And that's what you're doing. And it's never easy, but it's super important to do for your children, for yourself. Everything that you're seeing from that side of the family, painting you as the air quotes villain, it's just deflection. That's all it is. It's much easier to blame you than to look at themselves in the mirror. And in my opinion, you need to keep choosing yourself, keep choosing your kids. What you've been doing, the progress you've made is absolutely incredible. And I hope you really do recognize that. And anyone that questions that in any way, shape or form, anyone that doesn't want to support you through that, I know this is going to be easy for me to say, but fuck them. The commenter says, soft shoulder, not the arsehole. She cut contact with you. That includes your children. You can't trust her. She either walked through all of your abuse with blinders on or enabled it. You're absolutely valid to keep your children away from her. I would cut her off and anyone who agrees with her. Another commenter says, not the arsehole. I've been exposed since childhood to family members dealing with the after effects of CSA, and through them friends dealing with the after effects of CSA. The mothers don't generally handle it well if they did their best and their children were still brutalized while in their care. They are dealing with the fact that they loved the abuser and the fact that the child likely wouldn't have existed without the abuser. It's especially troublesome when they can't do anything to the abuser because they are dead or gone. Siblings and other close family members often react the same way. I remember hearing in more detail about a loved one. I had to step away because I didn't want them to be forced to deal with my anger and rage at my inability to avenge them. I've gone through all of the therapy. So once I cooled down a smidge, I explained a bit of my thought process. I'm sorry it sucks. They are dealing with complicated emotions that they have no idea on how to handle. And it's resulting on you falling on the sword of the messenger. But yes, stepping away and keeping your children away is a very, very good idea if they aren't willing to process their own emotions in a therapeutic setting. OK Image says it's hard for people to accept. In many people's cases, they've had to separate the person they love or rely on from the scumbag that did them harm, just to mentally survive, which makes it unbearable for the one actively exposed and overcome/pull away and escape. You need to work on you, because your mother doesn't sound capable of dealing with your pain. There, the abusers, and her rampant guilt for being apparently unable to protect you. No one is excused, no one is getting a pass, but you will go a little insane if you try and make folks comprehend that positively will not. Let's sail down denial, not the river in Egypt, until they are ready to face it, which might be never. You need to heal, you need support, you need professional care, and you won't get it from your family. But at some point later, Opie did come in with an update and says, not sure how to update, so I'll add it here, I guess. Doesn't seem to be able to link the original post, new to Reddit, and then says update. My mum's younger sister, my aunt, called me. I expected more of, I don't want to be in the middle as I'm neutral, I support you, but you're incorrect about your mother, like she had been texting me earlier in the month. But I'm still hanging on the hope that I can repair and salvage the relationship with my mother because I love her, if someone can get through to her. So I accepted the call. I got what I expected and some attempts to control my tone and voice. She tried to play the middle. My aunt kept circling back to me needing to work on myself, that I should go to therapy first, then try to repair the relationship. I told her that's what everyone keeps saying. You should go to therapy. You should work on yourself, as if I haven't been doing that for years. In fact, it's therapy and the safety and insight it gave me that unlocked all of this. The buried trauma, the repressed memories, the full weight of what happened. When I approach my family the way my therapist suggests, clear, honest, direct, they don't like it. It's too intense, too much, too real. Then she suddenly had a brilliant idea she needed to convince me of. Couples therapy between me and my mother. She was surprised I didn't shoot it down. In fact, I had to interrupt her multiple times to tell her I completely agree. I've been asking for exactly that kind of mutual accountability. She was flabbergasted, thought I was being sarcastic. That tells you how distorted the family's view of me is. When I calmly say yes to something healthy, they assume I'm faking. She also told me there's no way my mum will agree to individual therapy because my mum has no problem being unemotional. That sentence alone tells you why this entire dynamic is what it is. I told her I never demanded that of her. I suggested therapy when she said she had no idea what I wanted her to self-reflect on. She had no idea what my mother will think of the therapy idea, but said she'd try to suggest it and get back to me. Your aunt isn't being neutral here at all. She's taken side, and she's taken your mother's side. That's the way it comes across to me anyway. The whole you need therapy first. Well, you are in therapy. That's literally how you got here. Again, it's just more deflection. It's you. You're the issue here when you're not. Another telling thing was, about her saying about your mum being unemotional, no problem being unemotional. Your aunt just basically said that your mother's emotional unavailability is a normal thing for her. It's like, great, that's the problem. Then defends it. I know, again, this is going to sound awful to say, but I don't think your mum's going to agree to couples therapy. I think they weren't expecting you to say yes and that be it kind of thing. I have a feeling now all you're going to see is excuses about why she's not going to go to therapy. But they thought throwing this in your face about couples therapy, it makes them look reasonable in some kind of way. I think in some ways, though, you'll get something out of the answer. Either that she's going to show up and do the work, or she's going to refuse. And then you get your answer that, she's not willing to repair anything at all. But in the end, for me, and I know this is, as I always say, it's so easy for me to say sat behind a microphone, but, from very early on in the post where you said the family didn't deny it, they knew the men were involved, were abusive, have always been sexually inappropriate, violent and controlling, they knew about this. I know they probably all have their own stories to tell. Mother likely went through some stuff as well. If I found out my family members allowed a child to be abused and then got defensive when called out, I'd be done forever. I certainly wouldn't want them near children either, but as I always say, that's super easy for me to say sat here behind the microphone. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and a huge thank you for sharing your story as well. And I hope whatever path you take going forward, it's for yourself, it's for you and for your kids, because you simply deserve better. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.